One of the things that came out of that period of time was literature and songs, music. Well, that brings us here to Qumran. Qumran sits on the northwest corner of the Dead Sea. You can see the Dead Sea spread out here before us. But behind us is the caves of Qumran. You can see a couple of the caves here, and there are more caves around the corner and throughout these hills. In 1946, a Bedouin shepherd stumbled into one of these caves and found a number of scrolls. They began to inspect them, and they realized that there were scriptures written on them. They found portions of copies of every single book except for Esther. The scrolls actually went through a number of different hands, but today, if you want to, you can actually go and see them at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. They have dated a number of these scrolls to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century BC. And so in particular, if you think about the time of the United Kingdom, these are copies of the originals that were only placed 700 or 800 years after their originals were written.
How many Old Testament manuscripts do we have?
We don't know the exact number, but they're in the thousands. Some of them are very small, but they can use those to piece together a much larger document. There are some books, though, for instance, the Isaiah scroll, in which we have an entire copy of that book available to us. For a number of authors that we appreciate, like Plato and Aristotle, we have less than a dozen copies. However, when it comes to the Hebrew Bible, we have thousands of copies of manuscripts. And because of that, we can have an even greater confidence that what we read today when we open up our Bible is accurate to the original writings.
And you think about what that should do for people. I mean, most historians don't question the authenticity of these other ancient works when they have less than a dozen copies, but it comes down to the Bible or the ancient Hebrew or even the ancient Greek text, and we have thousands, if not tens of thousands of copies. That should reinforce or bolster anybody's faith when they come to realize that. Qumran isn't a place that you would automatically think about David or Solomon or the United Monarchy, but we're told in the Bible Solomon wrote 3,000 proverbs, 1,001 songs. To go back to what does the text say, you need to have a reliable text. It's like building a house. You need to have an accurate blueprint. We can trust what we have. It's accurate, and it's accurate so many times over. And I think that's huge, especially for those of us in the West, especially for young people, college students, high school students, who in the West are being told, no, that's not a historical document, that's just a legendary document, or that's just a cultural document. The details are too specific just to be a cultural document. We find evidence in the archaeological record that fit what's in that document. We have so many copies from independent places around the globe that match. If you came to that question, can we trust the accuracy of the Bible? With an open mind, without bias, and just looked at it fairly, that you'd walk away with the conclusion, I can trust what that says.
These texts were written by the Essenes. Essenes were a Jewish sect, and they lived here at Qumran. And they had particular rooms in which they wrote a number of these documents that were later stored here in the caves. You can see the different rooms.
So this was someone's house.
Yeah.
It'd be such a stark contrast from one side to the other to be able to see the Judean hills over here, but then the Dead Sea over here.
Water is vital for their survival down here. As they collected the rainwater, it would come down this little trough and it would fall into this little bitty pool. Once the pool filled up, it would spill over into this larger cistern. In doing so, it leaves the sediment that was in the water in this smaller pool, so the water in the cistern was perfectly clean.
So it was an ancient filtration system.
Exactly.
I think it would surprise people to see how many ritual baths and all of the water that would have required.
And they would go through a ritual cleansing multiple times per day. And so the need for good clean water was important to them. And this could be used as a community room. You can see the seating all the way around here.
What this is explaining over here is this would have been for studying, and that they found a lot of oil lamps for light in this room.
The oil lamps could be easily set up here on these rocks to light the entire room here.
Why did the Essenes find such value in preserving these texts?
Well, I think they found value for the same reasons that we find value. You look at the Song of Solomon, it's a song about the love that he has for a woman. You look at the Proverbs. How often do I open up the Proverbs if I'm having some problem in life? I can find something there that I can use today.
Even Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, the preacher, where he's answering this question of, is life meaningless or not? And he's answering, with God in view, it's not. Without God in the picture, it really feels like it's meaningless.
And of course, then we can look at the Psalms, and we use those same songs today in our praise to God.
A lot of people have the misconception that the Bible's very flat. But with this poetic literature, God is trying to evoke emotions. He's trying to get an emotional response to truth. The books that we're talking about that David and Solomon contributed to are rich, and God included that kind of text, and it was preserved, and those types of writings accomplish that.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Stu, and we're the founders of Appian Media.
We really hope that you've enjoyed the content that you've just seen. This was only made available through the generous donations of so many of you.
We believe that the world should have biblically accurate, visually engaging content about the Bible, and it should be free for everyone.
We would encourage you to visit the membership page of appianmedia.org and consider becoming a reoccurring member. Everything that you donate to Appian Media is tax deductible.
However you decide to donate, we really appreciate your support.